Greetings, everyone. It is a random Thursday, end of July. Took about a week and a half off of this. I know it's not really much because it's just listening to the radio and giving my thoughts. But as I had said, I was visiting family. I was on Rocky Mountain time, so my sleep schedule is all messed up coming back over to Eastern time. I was holding on to it pretty good, waking up early their time, and then waking up early their time to try and maintain like my normal sleep schedule, Eastern time. But it just shifted. I mean, your body kind of does that naturally with the circadian rhythm. It just follows what the sun is doing, and when it gets bright and when it gets dark outside. So, oh man. Oh, it really bit my butt the last 2 or 3 days I was over there, and I had a day to recover yesterday, try and fix things, and man, I'll tell you, it was a struggle waking up this morning. Oh man. But a lot of things have happened in the news this last week or so. The two conditional recognitions of a Palestinian state by France and Canada, which they're gonna officially announce, but the terms of those are, in my opinion, outrageous. And if followed, it would not lead to a Palestinian state because they would have no ability to defend themselves from aggressors, i.e., American and Israeli interests in the region, or even if a radical Islamist faction like ISIS or ISIL came into power. I guess it would be ISIL technically because it's the Levant. I mean, it's silly. It's absolutely silly. It would be like trying to create a community of highly persecuted people and then telling them, hey, you can't have a police force to protect yourselves from the neighboring town, which all hates you. So I guess it's kind of a poor analogy in a way, because I don't have a one-to-one representation of a previous historical event, and I'm just describing it how it is. So I guess it's not an analogy, that's just a description. So as we roll up on the highway, let's get up into the news and see what they're talking about. They may mention what I was just talking about.
Explicit intent is to skew the results toward Republicans. How will this get passed?
Oh, the Texas mapping.
At this point, this is the first proposal by Republicans in the Texas House of Representatives, and it's still relatively early. This could be a weeks-long process, and a key thing here to keep in mind is that even if Texas lawmakers pass this map or another one, there will likely be lawsuits.
And what will be the legal arguments here?
Well, this proposal makes a lot of changes to the current map, including to 4 districts in the Houston and Dallas areas.
Yep.
Those are the same 4 districts that 2 Trump officials at the Justice Department called, quote, unconstitutional. This is in a letter to Texas's governor. Now, a lot of legal experts don't buy that argument, and they say undoing those districts could raise some actual constitutional problems. And national Democratic leaders have said they are prepared to sue.
And they're not just relying on the courts, it seems to me. Democrats are preparing all sorts of responses, or at least discussing all sorts of responses across the country.
That's right. They're looking into ways of picking up more House seats in other states, but they are in a real bind because over the years they have supported redistricting rules and independent commissions in states like California and New York that are supposed to prevent this party-driven mid-decade redistricting that we're seeing right now in Texas. And there was an interesting statement this week from former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder. He chairs the National Democratic Redistricting Committee now, and the statement says, quote, "We do not oppose on a temporary basis responsible, responsive actions to ensure the foundations of our democracy are not permanently eroded," unquote. So it sounds like some top Democrats are on board with trying to go toe-to-toe with this.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a lot of very liberal Democratic states over, the last decade and a half, they tried to put their foot forward and be like, hey, if we act as a model for the nation will follow, especially in California, where they, enacted an independent commission to help with the redistricting they do every decade, along with the census, because that's kind of the purpose of the census, is to accurately map where Americans are, what demographics, and that is to facilitate a appropriate democracy. That legislative branches accurately, or legislative members accurately reflect their populace, and when you have gerrymandering the way that it is, both in, red and blue states, it can heavily impact, what our representation actually is. And unfortunately, those states that, formed independent commissions, hired independent experts to, redraw their maps to make them as representative as possible, their efforts were in vain, because other states have not followed that whatsoever. And now we see Texas trying to redistrict in the middle of a decade with the explicit purpose of getting more seats, or for one party. And it's obvious that it's happening because the head of the Republican Party is saying it. So, hey, why not? Guys, butthole. Go like 15 over. Sure. Why not, not play by the rules that you put upon yourself if other people are not going to follow them, right? It's not even a national rule. It's, they were trying to be a moral beacon of democracy. And the other people just, said, fuck it. We don't need to follow your rules. So, it makes sense that the Democratic Party is, going in this direction. And there have been threats by blue state governors such as Gavin Newsom to effectively do what Texas is doing. But since those states aren't as heavily gerrymandered as Texas is, they're probably going to be more effective at gaining seats in their favor than Texas is to gain seats in the Republicans' favor.
What's planning to do? I know you're two are friends. You got to know something.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me back. And I wish I knew. I wish I could tell you, but it was
wait.
a big announcement yesterday.
There's a difference between I wish I knew
decision,
and what you could tell me.
I don't think she's retired yet. There's a lot of fight left in her.
All right. There's a difference between what you can tell me and I don't know. So you know something, but okay, fine. We'll leave it at that, because the real reason we brought you on is to talk about that Republican push to redraw the Texas congressional map. And you're pushing, Senator, for an investigation into whether White House officials actually violated the Hatch Act that bars federal employees from participating in political activity while on duty. Why do you think White House officials may have violated the Hatch Act?
Right. Look, well, there's so much that's wrong with this effort to get Texas to redistrict and squeeze out some additional Republican seats, because that's what Donald Trump wants. But starting with how they're going about it, Donald Trump calling for it from the grounds of the White House and engaging White House officials, top Department of Justice officials to coordinate with Texas Republican officials in this effort. There's a law in the books known as the Hatch Act, which explicitly prohibits administration officials from engaging in partisan political activity.
But not the president, right, Senator? The president doesn't apply to the Hatch Act.
It doesn't apply to the president, but it applies to everybody around him.
Okay.
And in the past, there have been folks that have gotten into trouble for helping, political campaign through endorsements and fundraising. That's one level. This is a lot more devious. And the president has made it very clear. He's not even trying to hide it. The purpose for redistricting in Texas is to create additional Republican seats. So that's as partisan as it gets, number one. And number two, it just goes to show you how unpopular and harmful to the country his agenda is. Their only hope at holding on to power through the midterms is not to convince the American public on their ideas or accomplishments. It's to rig the election before it starts.
But Democrats have had redistricting efforts in the past. Illinois, Oregon, New Mexico in recent years to their advantage. Why is this any different?
Well, it's when you do redistricting, which we're required to do every 10 years after the census, there's criteria that goes into how the lines are to be drawn. You can't do it in a discriminatory fashion. That's part of voting rights and voting rights protections that have existed for decades.
The person in front of me,
whether Republicans
the guy who
continue to respect those or not,
sped by me 15
that's
over.
one of the things that folks are watching for.
Driving a bit recklessly because we're on a bit of a slowdown.
Look at this, and they might say that, hey, Democrats are just
some type
angry
of
or crying foul because they're lagging.
Some type of construction vehicle about, I don't know, 7 cars up.
Absolutely not true. What this is beyond just an abuse of the system. And again, they're saying the quiet part out loud, and it's not even a whisper, it's with a bullhorn. Go get me some additional Republican seats in Texas. It really brings the mind back to after the 2020 election, when Donald Trump called the Secretary of State of Georgia and said, go find me 11,000 votes. They'll do whatever it takes to win. The rule of law be damned.
In California, though, Senator, Democrats, including reportedly Governor Gavin Newsom, are pushing to counter the Texas redistricting with their own redrawing of districts. So isn't this all part of this political tit for tat that happens all across the country?
Well, I think here's where things are. There's a proposed map that has been released by Texas officials, has not been voted on yet by the legislature. So there's still time for Texas to stand down, which I think is the ideal scenario. But if Texas goes through with it, again, this blatant political power grab, because the stakes are so high. We've seen what's happening at the national level. Trump and the Republicans in Congress are decimating the social safety net. They're cutting access to health care. They're rolling back the clock on environmental protections and our battle against climate change and so much more. The stakes are high enough where we have to meet fire with fire. But the ideal scenario, Texas stands down, and we have a battle of ideas next year at the ballot box.
Because Gavin Newsom's administration has talked to state election officials about, the timing of maybe a special election to overturn its nonpartisan commission, which decides on redistricting. So, I mean, it's all a power grab, right? I mean, it's everything's high stakes, it seems like.
Well, I don't blame the governor or the legislature at all. Support them looking into every tool in the toolbox because of the damage and destruction that's been brought by the Trump administration, and the Republicans in Congress have been complicit in that.
What penalties should happen if indeed it is found that there are violations of the Hatch Act?
Well, there's a variety of penalties depending on how deep, how engaged these top Trump administration officials and Department of Justice officials, by the way, have been engaged here. So we do have confirmation that the Office of Special Counsel has begun its investigation. We'll wait for the investigation to conclude and provide some recommendations.
One more chance, Senator. Is Kamala Harris running for the Democratic presidential nomination, yes or no?
That I do not know. All I know is she's got a lot of fight left in her, and there's a lot of ways in which it will impact the direction of our country.
You know something, Senator. You know something. That's U.S. Democratic Senator Alex Padilla of California. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, we're gonna leave it there for the day. I'm gonna try and make these shorter. Only like 10 to 15 minutes instead of the 22 to 30-minute ones I've been doing. But I will talk and rant as always at the end. Man, it would be quite unfortunate for Kamala Harris to run again, since she was the blank paper candidate. She was very much a as the wind blows kind of person when it comes to politics on the national stage. And her record as a prosecutor, as a state prosecutor, wasn't really the best when you look at some of the cases that she handled. Kind of gross, actually. But she should definitely step aside and not try and run, in my opinion. It's just one of those cases where a person runs and runs for office, and they keep running for office, and they never really get, past anything, Hillary Clinton comes to mind. But I feel like Hillary Clinton was a lot deeper entrenched with the Democratic establishment. I mean, she was the wife of the president in the 90s, and she served throughout the State Department during the late aughts and early 10s. So, she's very entrenched with that, and she had a long political career before her husband was elected in 92. So, just my thoughts on that. It's just one of those careers, where you spend a long time, and either the nation or the party, the populace that actually votes for the party just keeps rejecting no. We saw that over and over again. So I think it would be dumb for her for specifically Vice President Harris to run for president again. It's dumb. You lost. Go do work somewhere else. Go actually improve the world. Be a humanitarian. Go be a Jimmy Carter. Don't be the same useless crap that you were before. And that is where I'm going to end it for the day. I hope all of y'all have a great one. I know we're already so close to the weekend. I really lined up my vacation days like perfect for maximizing time off while still being able to get to work at a decent time. Oh my god, or doing a decent amount of work. But man, transitioning from that Rocky Mountain time it's gonna mess me up till probably tomorrow. But y'all have a good one.